going to go ahead and turn polyframe back on. And let's talk about close holes really quick. So we've closed holes a little bit. And if we go over, hover over this face and say, you know what, I want to delete a flat island here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this flat area up here. Now, when you're on an object and you can see through it, it sometimes becomes difficult to bridge some certain sections. It's like, for example, if I want to bridge this edge to that edge over there, and I hover over an edge, and I'm like, you know what, I want to bridge edges. I'm going to tap this one, and then I need to click a second edge, and I got to go over here, and I'm like, wait, which one was it? I couldn't see. Just go down here to your display properties, hit double, and now you can see both sides. So now it's like, oh, I want those two edges there. So I'm going to go to this side here. I'm going to hover over this edge. I'm going to tap spacebar, bridge edges, tap this one, tap that one, and it'll bridge those two edges, right? So another thing you can do is hover over an edge and choose close. And we talked about this in some of the videos. I don't remember what order it's going to be in. But you can do concave and convex. So basically when you do concave, it's just going to do let me hit Shift D, a close holes operation, just like if you were to go to mesh or geometry modify topology close holes. Another cooler one is to go hover over an edge, choose convex hole, and if you just do spline, you can actually click and drag, and just like when we were bridging those two polygons, if you go left and right, it's actually makes a more or less of a dome, and then up and down makes more or less resolution. And then once you do that, it'll actually keep that in its memory. So next time you need to do that, let's go ahead and do a delete flat island again, and then we'll go ahead and just click close holes, and it'll go ahead and do that perfectly every time. And we bridged two polygons that were close together, and we should still have the same setting. So if I go over here to bridge connected polys, it'll bridge them into a circle, like so. You can actually bridge two holes. So let's go ahead and do really quickly insert multiple edge loops. We'll go ahead and divide this one up a couple times here. And then let's say we want to bridge these two end polys here. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to actually we can bridge holes and we can bridge polygons, I think. Well, let's try it. Let's do bridge two polys. So if I click this poly and then this poly, this polygon and then this polygon, it's not going to want to bridge. Let's go ahead and insert multiple edge loops here. So let's go ahead and go into delete a single poly. I'm going to delete these two polygons here. And now what I'm going to do is hover over an edge and choose bridge two holes. So now that I have two holes that I want to bridge, I can choose a spline, circle, arcs. We're going to get into this in a second. So if we just do a bridge two hole spline, I can click on this hole here and then this hole here, and then when I click and drag, I can make the arc up and down. I can make the arc, or left and right is arc bigger and smaller, and then left and right is up and down, bigger and smaller arc, and then up and down is resolution as well. So I can change the resolution of that arc, like so. And you also have more control in here. So we go into bridge two holes. We can do tight round corners, and there's so many options in here. Really, just kind of play with it. You know, here's tight round corners. You can click on that edge of that hole, edge of this one, pull it out, and there's your tight round corners in here. Really cool way to make handles. We can try doing a circle with, we can try interactive curvature. We can do optimal curvature, and that won't be interactive, but we can kind of see what that gives us here. So it'll go through and give us optimal curvature for a circle. But if you like playing with the interactive, you can certainly do that. Oh, and actually our interactive resolution is on, but if you want minimum resolution, you can give that a shot. So let's see what that does. Let's go ahead and do the hole to that hole, and gives us a really low poly. So really easy to bridge two holes. Let's go ahead and knock this back. So we'll just do another two holes, circle, interactive. We'll do optimal curvature, optimal resolution. So we'll click this one, then this one. And actually it's doing something really, oh, I accidentally deleted a hole back here. So we're going to do this hole and this hole. Now that's actually interesting because you can do very, very complex hole bridging. So I'm going to go over here and do an insert multiple edge loop. I'm going to divide this surface up quite a bit. So now let's say we want to bridge a hole that looks like, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into, I'm going to hit D to go into smooth dynamic preview. So if I go up here to geometry, so I have my dynamic preview turned on. However, if I hit Shift D and then D, I don't really have those subdivisions. So if I was to like dynamesh this, in fact, let's do it really quickly. I'm just going to go ahead and dynamesh this thing. You're going to see, oh, it goes back to being faceted. That's not what I want. What you need to do first is, don't know what I did in my tool menu over here. You need to go ahead and tell it this dynamic, this preview subdivision, go ahead and apply it. When I hit apply, you're going to see I actually get subdivisions over here. So now if I go to delete lower, you're going to see these polygons, these polyframes actually framing the polygon. And I don't have to delete lower. I can turn polyframe off and on, and you can kind of see them ghosted in here. But for our purposes, I'm going to go to subdivision level 3 and delete lower. And now it gives me a little bit more resolution to play with. And I'm going to do a quick save. So now at this point, I'm going to delete, I'm going to delete higher here. There we go. So I'm going to delete a poly in like this shape here, and I'm going to bridge these two holes. So if I click, go hover over an edge, go to bridge two holes, and let's not do circle, let's just do spline, interactive, interactive. So now if I click this one, and then pull out, I can make a bridge that has this much resolution with this much of an arc, like so. And you can also, if you want to get crazy, and who doesn't, I'm going to go ahead and bridge. I'm going to turn off X symmetry. So I'm going to bridge a hole that looks like this to a hole that looks like this. So two Tetris holes. So if I select this, and just in case it gets crashed, I'm going to quick save. So I'm going to bridge this hole here to this hole here, and I'm going to click and drag. And because I'm going around a really sharp curve there, it's not doing a very good job. So let me go ahead and do a better example. Let's do it along this top part here. There, that'll work. So I'm going to do a hole that looks like this to a hole that looks like this. Click this hole, and you know what? I'm going to isolate. Well, no, it's not isolated. And then click this hole. There we go. I can pull this arc out. I can add or change our resolution here, and it perfectly interpolated those two weird shapes into something that could be bridged. So we got a pretty wacky shape going on. Let's go ahead and talk about a few more things. We can do insert, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to simplify it a little bit. I'm going to go to initialize, and we're going to start over with a Q cube with this resolution. So just really quickly, I'm going to go to Q mesh, a single poly. I'm going to tag some of these surfaces here. I'm going to pull them out again. Actually, let's go ahead and make it easier on ourselves. We'll just insert multiple edge loops, add some resolution here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a mirror and weld. Oops. Let's do just a mirror and weld. There we go. So we've got this Q mesh, and we've got some resolution on here. So let's talk about inserting. Oh, another thing I need to talk about. So if we do insert single edge loop, we can insert a single edge loop. And I'm going to hit X to go across X symmetry, and you can do that. If you hold down insert a single edge loop and hold down Alt, it'll actually get rid of those edge loops. I can go through here and delete all these edge loops if I want to, even right down the middle. And that also pertains to creasing. So if I go through here and I choose, go ahead and crease edge loop complete, I can go ahead and crease this one, crease this one. You can hold down Alt and uncrease. Same thing with edge. You can crease an edge, or you can hold down Alt and uncrease an edge. So a lot of these regular functions have Alt functions, so you don't actually go in here and have to choose insert, hover over an edge and choose insert single edge loop. And then, oh, I want to delete that edge loop. Just hold down Alt. Don't go into delete edge loop. I mean, you can go into delete edge loop, but it's just easier just to hold down Alt. But while you are inserting edge loops here, if I hover this and insert a single edge loop, you're going to see it just kind of follows the shape of the underlying geometry. If you crank up your Z intensity to like, say, 50, and we insert an edge loop, it'll actually bump it out a little bit. And if you crank it up to 100, it'll bump it out a lot. So you can kind of play with this too, and you can do this on bevels as well. So you can bevel out and kind of get beveled edges on here. Let me see if I can bevel an edge loop complete on this thing. So if you go to bevel, edge loop complete, and bevel this edge. Actually, let's go ahead and inset flat island region. And then we can Q mesh a polygroup island. However, we want to hold down Shift, and we can actually move that out. And now, if we go in here and do an insert single edge loop with a Z intensity of 0, it'll just follow that flatness. However, I can go in here and crank that Z intensity up a little bit and kind of, get a little curve into that bevel. There we go. So now you can add a little bit of curvature to your bevels if you'd like, or just adding some bulges while you're inserting edge loops. And if you want to control where your edge loops are actually getting inserted, you can use masking as well. So let's go ahead and undo some of these. So if I want to insert an edge loop only on these two faces here, all I got to do is Alt tap those and then Control Shift to isolate them, Control Tap to mask them, bring everything back, invert that mask, and then if I do an insert single edge loop along this face, it'll insert a single edge loop, but it'll terminate on these two faces, and it won't let you do an end-gone, so it'll go ahead and triangulate those faces along the side as well. And to simplify that, let's go ahead and just hit Control W. You could have also done Alt Tag, and then if you hit W and Control Tap, it should go ahead and mask a polygroup. But what you can do is hover over the face and choose Transpose a single poly, and then it'll go ahead and mask those polygons for you. So that's just a quicker way to kind of mask things. And one more thing before we head out. Just like when I was in sub D mode and I could go in here, go ahead and grab my ZModeler brush here, and I can kind of be in this preview mode while I model, so I can hover over a face here and go into Q Mesh, single poly. I can go ahead and start Q meshing polygons up and seeing how they change my surface here, as well as I can go in here and do like, go ahead and crease. Let's go hover over this flat faces and we'll do a crease flat island outer targets, and I can go through here and just kind of crease these faces here. There we go. Just really quickly find faces here to kind of crease in here, and then if I want to change these, I can go in here back to my crease options on my edges, and we uncrease this one, let's say, uncrease this one. Another thing you can do in this mode is actually sculpt. So if I go in here or use any of your Z brushes, this is just all it is if I hit Shift D, it's low res geometry that has a preview on it. So you can go in here with your move brush, move stuff around. You can go in here with your standard brush if you want and start like sculpting. So feel free to go ahead, and you can even use H polish. So if you've got a really complex shape, weird shape, and you want to try maybe doing a little bit of H polish on your low poly, you can actually sub D preview what that H polish is going to do, what that smooth, if you hold down Shift and smooth, what that smooth is going to do to your vertices and update. So don't forget that you're not just limited to ZModeler stuff. You have everything in your ZBrush brush library to go through here and start making really drastic, cool changes to your object. And then if you hit Shift D, you'll see, oh, here's my actual mesh that I'm changing, but with D selected, here's what it's going to look like when it's a subdivision mesh, or when I give this mesh subdivisions. Okay, so I've been talking for a really long time, and that means I must have covered everything in ZModeler, right? Not even close. If I go into my ZModeler brush and hit face, there's so many things I can do, and I could sit here and talk for another couple hours. Pixelogic has each one of these things broken down. Joseph Dress did a really good job. But another thing is just to go in here and like start playing with these. If you don't know what something does, go in here and like hit scale, and you know what it probably does. It scales a single poly. Okay, so you have a target. Maybe you want to do a flat island. You want to scale all the flat islands from where I click. So now when I click this one, it'll scale where I clicked on all those flat islands. You know, so it's pretty self-explanatory, most of them. And if you don't know what it does, just go click it, give it a target, see what it does, play with these settings down here, and you know, you'll be up in box modeling in no time.